In quantum physics, there's a very famous paradox known as Schrodinger's paradox. A very common analogy used to describe this paradox is Schrodinger's cat. The story goes that Schrodinger's cat is placed inside a box, which is sealed, and then exposed to a toxic chemical. It's said that this cat is in a state of being both alive and dead at any given point in time until someone decides to open the box to take a look. The purpose of this analogy is to describe quantum systems that don't have defined properties until they are observed. In a similar manner, we realize that our enterprise data at Thermo Fisher Scientific is in a very similar state of being both worthless and truly valuable at any given point in time. But here's the kicker. We don't only have one box. We have tens of thousands of boxes. Traditional wisdom would say that we need to set aside time to meticulously open each and every single one of these boxes, to sort through all these boxes and standardize our data before deriving any sort of value from it. But what if that traditional approach, what if that conventional wisdom approach is the riskiest of all? What if, as we set aside the months and maybe even years to first standardize our data, to open each and every one of these boxes, the whole world was moving on without us? This was not a theoretical thought exercise that our team was tasked with, but rather a truly critical business challenge that we needed to solve for. My name is Harry Look. I'm a senior solutions architect at Thermo Fisher Scientific. In late 2022, probably like the rest of you, my phone and newsfeed was blowing up with Gen AI this, Gen AI that. It was not until we decided to create a set of fictitious sensor data, hide an issue in it, and download a manual from the internet. Throwing these two pieces of data into a language model, it was able to come up with the issue, the root cause, and a set of corrective actions, all in a matter of 37 seconds. That's right, 37 seconds. Something that would have taken an engineer probably an hour or so to figure out. It was in that moment that we realized everything had changed. Thermo Fisher Scientific has grown very, very successfully over the past several years through a series of acquisitions, providing our clients with a set of end-to-end services, but at the same time created a rather complex IT landscape. As a pharmaceutical CDMO, a contract development and manufacturing organization focused on making the world a healthier, cleaner, and safer place for both our clients and our patients, we faced a challenge. How could we derive value and innovate in this fragmented data landscape? When we first proposed to tackle this challenge with generative AI, using our data as it is, we were obviously met, and understandably met, with some skepticism. You have to fix the foundations first. You can't build on bad data. Garbage in, garbage out, right? We've all heard these kinds of phrases. They're not without merit, but we knew we could not afford to wait. So here's our insight for today. Generative AI has not simply lowered the barrier to entry to exploratory data analysis, but actually it has resolved our Schrodinger's paradox. Generative AI has provided a new set of capabilities that could be applied across the entire life cycle of the solutioning process. Today, I'll share with you a framework born out of this insight and our experience by leveraging generative AI and creating a framework comprised of three elements: people, platforms, and processes. And we'll showcase how we're able to create both quick wins in the short term and also create a foundation for scalability and for continuous growth. I'll start with what matters first: people. When I first started my career nearly a decade ago, innovation necessitated, absolutely required, rare specialists with both a combination of technical expertise as well as very, very deep domain expertise. Today, generative AI has very, very effectively, not 100%, but very effectively democratized a lot of these capabilities and knowledge. This shifted into what is truly important now, rather the strategy now, is having a team that is equipped to be able to ask better questions. Every project that we handle in our team is comprised of a cross-functional group of business experts, technical specialists, and solution architects. They each know enough about each other's fields and also bring to the table their own set of core expertise so that they can very quickly bridge gaps and innovate and iterate very quickly. Whether they're trying to prompt engineer insights out of a brand new data set that they're looking at for the first time, or using generative AI to design brand new user interfaces, these groups of individuals are able to ask questions that otherwise siloed specialists with only deep knowledge or deep expertise would often miss. Generative AI does not replace human intelligence, but rather it created an opportunity to amplify the intelligence that this team had access to. It is through combining these very different perspectives, right? Creative thinking, broad knowledge, breadth of knowledge, that these teams are able to ask the right questions and come up with novel, creative ways of using technologies like generative AI to obtain insights and value from imperfect data. But even great teams need the right tools. And that brings me to our second point, which is platforms. Platforms that are secure, flexible, and adaptive. Firstly, safety and security. In our industry, in the pharmaceutical industry, safety, security, and compliance are non-negotiable. So instead of thinking about building in security at a later point in time as a checkbox, we selected a platform that had it built in from the beginning. This let our teams move quickly within a safe and secure environment. Secondly, flexibility. We're working with imperfect data here, right? So no matter where that data lived, perfect location or not, we needed flexibility to work with it and to access it. The platform we selected is able to connect to any one of these data sources, whether the information and data repository lived in SharePoint, lived in AWS S3, our databases, or legacy in-house built systems. Our teams could focus on extracting insights and value from the data instead of the mundane task of data engineering and getting access to the data each and every single time we are presented with a new use case. Thirdly, adaptive. We needed a platform that could evolve alongside the rapidly shifting technology landscape, as well as rapidly changing business needs. For example, when new and better AI models come out, things as recent as this month when Llama 4 came out, we could use and access them without completely rebuilding or retooling our backend. When new business needs arise, when we're presented with new business use cases, we can simply connect to wherever the source data set is and start working immediately. This approach ensures that the platforms evolve and adapt alongside both the technology landscape and business needs. It's actually this point that brings us here today, because our team chose to onboard Dataiku as our selected platform of choice. It was able to fulfill all three of these criteria that we were looking for. And this brings me to our third point, the third element of the framework, which is processes. This final piece tackles a common but challenging obstacle: traditional governance and funding models. Most organizations treat this imperfect data as a prerequisite that must be fixed first before any sort of innovation or any sort of funding gets approved. We've flipped this thinking, treating our imperfect data as immediately actionable and requiring very, very little capital to get started. What does this actually look like? What are two actionable things that we've done to improve the pragmatism of our business processes? First, graduated governance. The levels of oversight that we subject our use cases to are directly proportional to the maturity of our solution. Early exploratory analysis, quick and dirty proof of concepts, we decrease the amount of red tape limitations or restrictions required to get these activities started. As these use cases show promise, and they are going to be subjected to an increasing level of oversight, increasing levels of control as they approach production level applications. Secondly, value-driven funding. We've split up our funding model into two elements. First is a baseline funding to enable our talent and to provide them with the right environments to work in. right? So that's our people and platforms element, but also a milestone-based funding where additional capital gets unlocked as these use cases reach certain milestones, as value is proven, as technological feasibility is established, and as business scale and impact become increasingly clear. This approach lets us extract value at every stage of the game, recognizing that today's biggest risk is not imperfect data, but failing to see the potential of what is hidden inside said imperfect data in its current state. Let's walk through a very quick example of what this looks like in real life. In the spring of 2024, we were presented, or rather, the legal team had approached us with a use case to analyze 75 complex contracts comprised of hundreds of pages to extract a dozen terms or so. They needed the results not in a matter of weeks, but in a matter of days, something that was initially discussed as being impossible. Using our framework and what we knew at the time, and our experience with generative AI up to that point, we delivered an analysis in 48 hours. The results were not perfect, understandably, but they were approximately 70% accurate. Not perfect, but absolutely useful and actionable. This analysis that was done in just a matter of 2 days enabled our legal team to know exactly where to focus their efforts on, exactly where to spend their energies to review, turning what would have been a 3-week project with several paralegals into something that was initially already actionable within 2 days. Before the end of the week, they already had something that they could report out on. We then expanded, building upon the success of this initial ask, into a proof of concept that was expanded to 6 clients and 100 or so contracts, where we needed to extract information around 30 or so terms and clauses. Working in a cross-functional team of legal experts, technical specialists, and architects, we were able to bump up that accuracy to around 87%. But the real breakthrough actually came through when we ended up connecting with a finance group that reviewed our insights, reviewed the data, and spotted a very interesting term. This one term we decided to double down on, building a more robust, reliable workflow, bumping up the accuracy to over 90%, and applied it to over 500 contracts. When we connected this set of data that we had extracted with financial data that the team already had access to, we found a $1.3 million opportunity. This was a very, very exciting moment for us. And this matters because it was true business value that we couldn't access before. This was information that was otherwise buried in thousands of pages of contracts and wouldn't have been found without extensive manual review. The insights from this prototype helped us build a business case around the selection of a vendor. Contract analysis is not a use case that is unique to Thermo Fisher. Every enterprise has their sets of contracts that could be analyzed for insights. And so we decided to onboard a vendor as part of this next step. The insights from this prototype helped us in the selection process, eliminating many months of uncertainty, and also created a baseline that we could compare against when evaluating the performance of these applications, because we already knew the answers that we needed to compare it against. We already had an answer key to compare with. So that way, we didn't need to rely too much or too significantly on generic demos. The second very valuable point about this is we all know onboarding a vendor is not an overnight activity. Neither is implementing these types of solutions. And so while we are implementing said solution or the selected solution, which doesn't happen overnight, we can continue to extract value using our prototype, whether that means to increase the number of contracts that we choose to run through that extraction pipeline or create new pipelines to extract new terms of value. Even better, when the solution is fully deployed, our legal teams are not only provided in a more advanced system, but they also have a better, clearer understanding of the potential around their data set and where to look and how to think about this data set. This shows how our framework really works. Bringing together diverse teams, adaptable platforms, and practical processes enable teams like this to extract real business value from existing data in their current state. So let's come full circle. We know that our enterprise data exists in a quantum state of being both valuable and worthless at exactly the same time. But we don't need perfect organization first. We know that generative AI has fundamentally changed the game. And with just this one example that we've just shown, we found a $1.3 million opportunity lying in wait. It was there all along, just waiting for the right team, the right platform, and the right business processes to reveal it. Now, let's close. Let's come full circle. Just in case you missed the last 15 minutes, here it is in just 1 minute. First, it's very likely that some subset of data inside your enterprise exists as a Schrodinger's paradox. The risk is not their imperfection, but rather leaving these boxes unopened. Second, consider how you might implement a framework similar to what we had built, comprised of people, platform, and process. How could you bring together diverse talent, secure a safe and secure, flexible and adaptive platform, and create pragmatic business processes that promote and incentivize teams to work with data as they are, to start small, focused on enabling value creation and the generation of insights. Third, and finally, start small, but start now. Every day that you wait is potential value lost. It doesn't have to be big. Start with one source, one team, one question. The cost of waiting simply far exceeds the risk of working and starting with imperfect data. And so with that, I'll leave it to you. Which box will you choose to open? Thank you very much.